the second of our culinary career sessions all around sectors within the industry. So I would like to just say before we start that these are generously sponsored by Caterer.com. So Caterer.com is the hospitality industry's hiring platform, which matches the right people to the right jobs. They're focused on supporting hospitality people through every stage of their job seeker journey, which is why they collaborate with employers, industry bodies and charities to create content and resources that empower them throughout the journey. The Caterer.com Job Seeker Resource Hub is packed with advice and guidance to help you find your next role. And they currently have over 13.5 thousand job listings on average across some of the biggest hospitality brands in the sector as well. So we are very generously supported and sponsored by Caterer.com today. So I am going to start with the session just by getting the chefs just to introduce themselves and telling you a little bit about which sector they're from. And then I'm going to start to ask the chefs a few more questions just to find out a little bit more. So if you just have a brief overview, Lalit, we can start with you.
Yeah, hello everybody. My name is Lalit. I'm the executive chef at Intercontinental Hotel London Park Lane, working with the company for the past 15 years. And we got 5 different outlets, including celebrity chef Theo Randall, the Master Chef winner from 2020 and 2021. We got a beautiful terrace, 2 different lounges, and around 459 rooms with a big banqueting space of around 1,000 to 1,200 people. Forward to seeing.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lalit. And Leo, do you want to go next and introduce yourself?
Hi, good morning. My name's Leo Rodley. I'm Group Executive Chef for BP Aramark in the UK. I run the culinary program for all sites across England and Scotland. We have 5 units in that portfolio, running everything from basic coffee bars to staff restaurants, fine dining, hospitality, outside event catering, and everything in between. Biggest site is 2,000, down to our smallest site in Piccadilly, which is about 400 in that portfolio.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Leo. Martin?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My name is Martin Evans. I'm currently the Production and Specialist Care Manager at Wellux. Wellux is a supplier across the UK into the hotel and restaurant industry. We look after about 60 to 65% of the UK's Michelin star restaurants. The specialist care part of my job is I work alongside and with the UK's Michelin star restaurants. They contact me direct for specialist produce, because as we all know, the Michelin star game's about consistency. But on the other side of that, I have a small production team where we make fresh pasta and ready to eat products every day as well. My background is a chef. I was a chef for 21 years. Worked pubs, hotels, Michelin star, Rosette. So yeah, that's my background. Happy to be here as well. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Martin. And Chris?
Hi, I'm Chris Claycorn, the executive chef of the Queensbury Hotel and the Olive Tree Restaurant. We have 1 Michelin star. I've been here for 10 years. We're a 29-bedroom boutique hotel with the Olive Tree Restaurant sitting around about 42 covers, which we run mainly a kind of 9 or 12-course taster menu.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Well, it's great to have you all here. I know how busy you are today, so I really appreciate the time that you've taken out to be able to come and speak to the young people to let them know about the sector that you work in. So I'm going to come to you first, Leo, if that's okay. So you currently work in the food and service management sector. So can you tell us a little bit about that sector and how it operates?
So the BP contract is considered a B&I contract, essentially. We do staff feeding for everyone that is on site. The food is so for instance, our main contract in Sunbury, we have a staff feeding capacity for over 2,000 people. We have outside, we have quick fast grab and go food. We have counters that are live cooking. We have everything is steamed. There's 6 live counters a day. The food is the contract is cost plus, so the BP basically pay for everything, and we provide a colleague experience up to the standard that they want. The staff are essentially working Monday to Friday, 7 till 3 a.m. But then the hospitality team do slightly different hours. I mean, there's a big variation site to site, and depending on what client needs are. So, the colleague experience is at the forefront of what BP want to do. They want to provide the best for their staff to get them back into the offices and give them a great working environment. We do, just on top of the staff feeding program, we run a surprise and delight program. We all the food is cheaper than the high streets to get people in, to get people engaged. So what BP provide their staff is a really fantastic offer to make sure the working environment is the best that it can be.
Brilliant. So you mentioned B&I then, so that's business and industry, isn't it? Yes, so basically, Aramark are an organisation that have a contract with a client, and you'll provide the food for the people that work for that particular client.
Great. But I mean, Aramark also run defence, schools. I mean, there's a huge range of contracts that they do. So they do a lot of MOD stuff. So they did all the catering for the Queen's funeral, for the King's coronation. They also do a lot of schools work, so they provide catering in schools. And each sector is slightly different, and each sector has different chef leads as well.
Oh wow, that's brilliant. So it sounds like a very varied sector. So if somebody wanted to get into your industry, what kind of chef roles can they expect to have, and what kind of food can they expect to be cooking?
So I mean, I would definitely go. So this, like any chef, you would either go get an apprenticeship program or go to a college. So Westminster Kingsway College, for example, got a great. If you're a young person under 18, I think that course is free. You have to apply. You have to show discipline and commitment. This is a 3-year course. Or we offer apprenticeships where people can learn on the job. They go to college 1 day a week, and they do their NB. I think the equivalent of an NBQ now. It's also a 3-year course. They'll get their chef qualification in the end, and they'll basically come out at a senior CDP or junior CDP or commis chef level. I mean, there's people are being moved through the industry probably a bit too fast. I mean, they're coming out of college and going straight into chef to party positions, but there's a few routes into it that anyone can follow. Yeah.
No, that's brilliant. So in terms of working within the food and service management sector, what are the hours like?
I think the hours are probably better than in a hotel or a restaurant. But again, each contract is different. So my guys that predominantly work in the B&I side, they start at 7 a.m. They finish at 3:30. The guys that do the hospitality, they'll probably do a few more. They'll probably do the odd night depending on the events. But we pay overtime for all our team. Anyone who stays later, anyone who does over 40 hours, because BP is they don't want to take advantage. If you're doing overtime, guys, if you're doing 60 hours, they get paid for 60 hours.
Sure.
I mean, I know, even recently, some hospitality sites didn't pay that. So It depends on what sector you want to go into. I mean, I would check beforehand what you want to do, but I would definitely be get into an apprenticeship program or a culinary school program prior to entering the industry. Definitely.
That's fantastic. Thank you. So what do you really love the most about your job and the sector that you work in?
This is quite a varied sector. The development side of it for me is probably Aramark and BP. They're heavy into Aramark. They're always pushing for the next thing, for the new thing, to give colleague experience. They don't want to sit still, and people come into the restaurant every day. So we are always looking for investment. We're always looking to push the boundaries of the new thing. For instance, we've just opened up a new coffee shop. It's all about bringing in the best coffee. Also, the food experience. So we've just put an airstream trailer out the side in Sunbury that costs £80,000, and from that, so people can go out into the park. They can have lunch out there. So that's opened up another factor. We put a whole team to go out there. So it's all about the culinary development for me at the moment.
That's amazing. That sounds fantastic. And listening to, to the customer, that health and well-being as well. It sounds fantastic. So what advice, you've already touched upon this a little bit as well, but what advice would you give to somebody who was looking to come into the food service management sector to become a chef?
Discipline, training, get your knowledge. I mean, there's a lot of people in the industry at the moment who I would say are lacking knowledge. We're pushing probably people in too fast. Salaries are going up faster than we can probably keep pace with. But I think we're at a level now where it's kind of hit a maximum. We're not willing to. I mean, I'm paying. Some people are asking chef de partie salaries that are a couple of years ago was 2 chef salaries, which is crazy. So that seems to have calmed down a bit now. But it's also about giving these guys training and giving them knowledge once they're with us. There's a lot of people who have huge gaps in their knowledge because they haven't been to college. They've just entered the industry and they might have just been stuck in a section, stuck with a company that hasn't invested in them, haven't trained them. So it's about getting that knowledge out to them. I think at the moment it's very important. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And it sounds like Aramark, would help to support with those career opportunities as well, which is great. Thank you, Leo. I'm sure we'll come back to you in a little moment, but I'm going to move over to Chris. So Chris, thank you again for joining us. You've had a very busy breakfast this morning at the Olive Tree. So I hope that you're feeling a little bit more relaxed now you're here. So again, you currently work in the restaurant sector. So can you tell us a little bit about what that sector does and how that operates?
Yeah, so we're a boutique hotel, so we also do obviously breakfast, room service, and then Olive Tree does lunch and dinner service. So we offer for lunch, we have a set 3-course meal, which is kind of a smaller tasting incentive, which is called the Taste of Spring or Summer. And then for the dinner services, then we have 1 9-course meal, which then we also have then our to start, our to finish, and our bread. So it comes to about 12 courses. That's the main offering that we offer then for dinner. We don't do a la carte. It's just created to be an experience. We try and use the best possible ingredients as local as possible, but if they're not good enough, then we will always go further afield to make sure the right balance of the menu gives a world-class experience. And what we're trying to create here is every course, every dish in the menu is not a run-of-the-mill dish. Do you know what I mean? What I want is the dish that's always going to make you, with the ingredient, with the flavor combinations, and then also with the wine pairings, that each dish is a standalone star in its own, that by the end of that meal you struggle to kind of pick what's your favorite.
I love that. That's brilliant.
So we run the kitchen team. We run on 12 chefs. So we have 12 chefs, 3 kitchen porters, 3.5 kitchen porters, and I have a restaurant team of 10. So between us, all with the food and beverage, we oversee everything for the hotel as well.
Fantastic. That sounds great. Can you just explain a little bit about what a tasting menu is for some of us out there that might not know what that kind of menu would be?
Yeah, so the tasting menu is kind of people get confused sometimes that they think it's kind of an old school kind of thing, where actually it's like a 1 mouthful dish. Now a tasting menu is a dish that is still adequate to eat and reflection on the quality of the ingredients. So generally we work on 4 to 5 mouthfuls per dish. So your protein on the dish we always work on, give or take, is generally around kind of 70 grams, 80 grams, because it's always we try and emphasize it on the one ingredient, but not every dish is emphasized on a protein. So for instance, our white asparagus and caviar dish is obviously focused on the white asparagus and caviar, but then you have another dish then that is more focused on the barbecued lobster. So it's mainly around that ingredient. But then there's other elements then, that the duck, we have an aged duck that we use, which we age it for around 2.5 weeks in a salt chamber. But then we utilize every element of that duck into the main course. So we use the duck fat to make a brioche, we use the livers to make a parfait, we use the breast on the plate, we use the leg to clarify the consomme. So then the dish all comes together. So the star of the show is always still the duck, but the other elements that go with it, the black truffle, the onions, all kind of the 20-year-old Madeira, all let that duck shine, but without overpowering it. So the tasting menu also is obviously an experience of going all the way along, that each dish complements the next dish. One dish doesn't overpower the next. And the way I cook as well, we have our cheese course. We come down from our main course. We don't have like the classical pre-dessert, like sorbet or things like that. I'm not a believer in those things. I've worked in 1-star, 2-star, 3-star kitchens that always taught the concept of how you're using the ingredient and how to get the experience very different. So we still do a cheese course, but we have a frozen cheese that we do. So by the time it hits your palate, it warms beautifully on your palate and you get all those aromas, but it's with like a Isle of Wight tomato jam, and a couple of other ingredients. And then we do a chocolate dish then that's completely not sweet at all, which is our Isle of Wight, which is our island's chocolate with Manny olive oil and Pedro Jimenez. And so we've sourced the best ingredients that we can possibly find. Manny olive oil is a very rare supply. He only produces 100, he only sends to the UK around 100 litres of oil a year, and we're only one of, I believe, 8 restaurants that get it. But it's such a unique product that has such a understanding in each dish, and each dish goes through such development and research to get each ingredient right and the balance right.
Brilliant. So would you say then, working in a smaller kind of hotel and boutique restaurant, boutique hotel, that gives you the freedom to be able to create these fantastic dishes? Do you work with the chefs in your kitchen as well to put that together?
Yeah, so I lead on a lot of the development, but my team always have an input. My team also always taste everything as we're going along, because it's important that they understand the things that don't work and then the things that are really nice and would be perfectly fine in most places. But then when we get to the end dish, what it ends up being, and they just taste what it ends up being, they realize then, wow, what that difference is for what we're just looking for on the palate.
Fantastic. No, that sounds amazing. So lots of opportunity if a young person is wanting to go into kind of that development and having a real input in the menu, to be able to come and work for those smaller organisations as well, which is fantastic. So what are the kind of working hours like within your sector?
So my guys work, all my team work a 4-day working week, and they work their 48 hours over those 4 days. So we're quite so they start, say 10 o'clock, they'll normally get out on a break around 3 o'clock. And then they come back then for evening setup. And then we finish about 11 o'clock at night. So between it, they just work 4 hours. And the point on the 4 days, the point is with the 4 days, you can only work so much in 4
Absolutely.
days. But also it meant as well that it gives them the switch off time as well. 3 days off to do what they want to do, even if they want to sleep one day. Off, but the point is it gives them time to do those things. And a lot of my team as well I've actually taken on as apprentices.
Amazing.
And been with me, one guy's been with me for 5.5 years, another guy's been with me for 2, another one for 2.5 years, and they all started as apprentices doing a day release either through a college or through a training company then that do it mainly in-house, which is what we focus more on now, is doing it more in-house, because colleges had a bit of problems with kind of assessors over the last 18 months, whereas when it's in-house, I know it's our job to teach them.
Absolutely.
We focus on that, and if there is any other problems, we know we're always progressing all the apprentices.
No, that's really great to hear. It's fantastic. So what do you love the most about your job and the sector that you work in?
Probably obviously the development is a big side. I also love the services, because the way I always run my services is that services should actually be very calm, very smooth, very slick. They should never be stressful. It's all about the preparation beforehand, the organization. When it comes to service, then everyone knows one person's on meat, one person's on fish, one person's on hot larder, cold larder. So everyone's got a role in service, and then it's just about repetition. But also we serve the customers as well. So every chef, apprentices are not stood out the back peeling onions or anything like that. From apprentice, from day one, they are straight on the cold larder, being trained straight from the start. And they have a more senior chef next to them until they're competent. But generally, a lot of the time, they come up to speed quite quickly, and then they are then serving the customer as well. So they have then, within normally 6 weeks, they're normally confident enough that they have learned, say, for instance, the cured trout dish, they're prepping all that dish, and then they're also serving that dish, and they're able to explain why we've used a certain trout, why we use liquid nitrogen on a granita, and they're able to give those answers if the guests want them, but also they're able to have that pride in just serving it because they understand why we need such consistency.
Just lost you, Chris. I don't know if you are still. Oh, it's coming back. Hang on 1 second. We lost you for a little bit.
Sorry.
Can you see you back now? No, that, I mean, that sounds absolutely fantastic that you're actually going out and having that customer interaction as well, which is quite a unique thing to happen. So it sounds amazing, and to have the chef explain the dish is fantastic. So Chris, what advice would you give to anybody who is thinking about taking a career and working, you know, say in a restaurant or a small boutique hotel?
I would always say, as much as it's kind of, it might seem a little scary coming to a higher end kind of restaurant, but it's not as scary as you think, and also to work for the best person you can work for, because I started off in kind of lower level restaurants for my beginning of my career. I did day release, and don't get me wrong, it was very good, but it was when I got the hunger for kind of doing stages in kind of Michelin restaurants that I just realized there was a different ethos, there was a different kind of mentality, that I've been quite lucky that the way we run things is actually, you've got good development there. You've got the amount of staff you need to do the role because people want to work with you. You can create a nice environment. And if you learn from the best chef you can possibly find to learn under, alongside doing your apprenticeship, you're going to learn from day one the way that chef would do it, rather than might work for someone else and then they say, well, do it this way, and you go, after a year they move to somewhere else because they're not happy, and then they learn a different way.
Yeah,
this industry is about learning loads of different ways how different chefs do it, so one day you can find your own way, but at the same time you need to learn those classical techniques, which in a lot of high standard establishments you'll be learning those hollandaises, all your kind of crucial classical techniques. You'll be learning the classical and the modern ways to do it.
Fantastic. That's really great advice. Thank you very much, Chris. So I'm going to move over to Lalit. So Lalit, again, I'm going to ask you some very similar questions. But can you know, you're currently working in the hotel sector in a big, you know, an international continental hotel, which are also international hotel is also, sorry, an international hotel chain as well. So can you tell us a little bit about that sector and how it operates?
Like Intercontinental Group, which is IHG Group, they got more than 5,500 hotels around the world with 18 different brands. You might have heard about not only Intercontinental, but Crown Plaza, Holiday Inn, Kempton, One Principal. Then you got Candlewood, Staybridge, Voco. So these are, all different brands we have. And then we have different styles of service as well as experience. Being Intercontinental as the premium brand of the company. And we got 4 flagship properties around the globe, the iconic properties. One is obviously Intercontinental London Park Lane, which is situated in the Mayfair area. The second one is the Willard Intercontinental in Washington, D.C., which is right opposite to White House, and which hosts all the VVIP delegations and all over there. The third one is in Dubai Festival City. Of course, it's a massive hotel with almost around 1,249 rooms with 18 different outlets with, three restaurants with 3 Michelin star hotels, including Pierre Garnier and all. And then we got one in Sydney, Opera House. So these are the iconic hotel. Other than that, we have, we moved down to Crown Plazas, One Principal Hotel, and so list goes on. Voco is our latest one, which is in the lifestyle hotel with which changes the interior as well as each hotel is different from each other. We have one in Cardiff, St. David Cardiff, which is an amazing property. St. David Cardiff, which was the first five-star hotel in Cardiff, and so on. So talking about this property at Intercontinental Park Lane is very iconic. It used to be the childhood place of Queen Elizabeth II. She spent her childhood here at this property before we converted into a hotel. Most of the delegations who comes and visit 10 Downing Street as well as Buckingham Palace, they stay with us. During the coronation also, we hosted more than 23 head of the states. During the Commonwealth meeting, or we had 48, 49 head of the state staying with us. So it's very high profile guests we have. Other than that, due to the location, we do a lot of, weddings around this area. As well as we got various outlets. The premium one is with Chef Theo Rendell, who doesn't need any introduction himself. He has been with us for 17 years. And then we open another outlet where we invite all these master chef participants and winners to come and do a pop-up for 3 months. In the past, we hosted Alex Webb, then we had Philly. Then we are also in talk with the other chefs coming soon. Then we open up a terrace, which serves the simple Italian food aperitivo menu. Then we serve afternoon tea, which is one of the highly recommended afternoon teas in London. Currently, we are working on the autumn afternoon tea with master chocolatier chef Martin Schiffer. He is the executive chef of the national UK team. And we host various big events in banqueting, from 750 to 1200, 1300 plated buffets and all kind of food.
Brilliant. So how big's your team then, Lalit, that work within the kitchen?
So in kitchen, I got 60 chefs, plus I got a KP team of around 30 people. But when we do all these events, big events, then I am more dependent on agency chefs and all.
Wow, fantastic. So a huge brigade there that working in the kitchen because of all the different types of operations that you have within there as well.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So what chef roles are available within your sector?
To be honest, I mean, like we got the full hierarchy, starting from the apprentice to commis and demi chef de partie, and so on. My priority is to groom my talent, what I have it, and develop them further for the next role. So I always look for commis chefs or apprenticeship within my team. I enroll them through HIT, which is, a training course for the various roles. And then we are also in talk with the Kingsford College, Westminster King's College. So uh, there is some potential over there also. But mostly I look for commis chefs, to be honest.
That's brilliant. So it's all about the development and helping to ensure,
Yeah.
pretty much like what Chris and Leo were both
Like,
saying, it's about growing the talent.
Most of the chefs I have, they have been with me for 7 years, 8 years, and so on. So most of my junior sous chefs and sous chefs, they started with us as a commis chef or as a demi chef. And I myself also, I started with Intercontinental as an intern student in 2009 when I was in New Orleans. So I grew up from intern to an executive chef here. So I try to promote the same thing.
That's good stuff. And so you live in that as well, which is amazing. So Lalit, what are the working hours like? How do they vary within your business?
So as you know, we got different outlets, so we got different shifts. So if you talk about the hotel main kitchen, so we serve breakfast. So we have a team of 9 breakfast chefs. So they start early from 5 in the morning till 1:30. So that is their shift. Then the second is AM shift, which starts at 8 in the morning till 4:30. And the evening shift start at 2:30 and finish it at 11. Then we got the overnight shift for the night bakers and the overnight chefs. They start at 10 and finish at 6:30. And then for Theo Rendell outlet, we have different shifts. We doesn't do long shifts, to be honest, 12 hours, 14-hour shifts. We got a team of around 14 chefs for Theo Rendell, so which is again AM and PM. So AM starts at 9ish and finish at 5:30, and the evening starts at 3 and they finish around 11:30.
Okay, so there's a shifts there for your early birds, there's shifts for night owls, there's shifts for in between, so something for everybody then.
Yeah, I mean, like we try to accommodate whatever we can. But sometime when you have a big banqueting and you need support, so we always ask the guys if they want to do overtime. And yes, we do pay overtime. On top of that, we pay, if someone is doing overtime, we pay them extra service charge, as well as they incur more holiday on top of that.
Fantastic. That's great. So really looking after your staff, if they're working hard, they're
Mm.
getting those rewards on top of that as well, which is amazing. Lily, what do you
And the
really
ben-
love? Oh, sorry, go on.
and the benefit of working with IHG is, it's a global company, it's a worldwide company. After 2 years, if someone wants to, go maybe to Middle East or maybe to America or somewhere, we always have hotels so they can work around. Last month I sent my pastry head chef to Intercontinental in Paris because he wants to do some pastry training there with the chef. So we always work around.
Amazing. That sounds fantastic. So, my last question to you, Lily, is what do you love the most about your job in your sector?
To be honest, I love to nourish the talent in culinary area wherever we have. So, most of the chef, as I said, they started quite early as a former chef. So, I love to see them growing, develop them further in terms of skills as well as in their personal goals.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. You've given us lots to think about the hotel sector there as well, Lily. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So last but certainly by no means least, I'm going to move over to yourself, Martin. So you currently work in the food production sector as a chef. So can you tell us a little bit about your sector and who you work for?
Yeah, so it's quite well, it's certainly different to Chris, Leo, and Lalit as regards to what a chef actually does. I mean, I trained classically French when I was younger as a chef, and after 21 years, was lucky enough to get a job where the hours weren't as long. So Wellux is a supplier into the hotel, restaurant, and bar trade. We're probably one of the biggest in the country. We supply to the top of Scotland, right down to the bottom of Cornwall. Currently serve about 1,500 restaurants, like I said before, including some of the UK's Michelin star restaurants. That includes 1, 2, and 3 stars. The production team we've got here, we have a big prep room, so we do a lot of diced veg, chips, pont neuf, that type of thing. But also we have the pasta production room as well. So I have a team of 6 people in there that make fresh pasta, raviolis, gnocchi, and I have a small, what we call an MPD team that make ready-to-eat products. So we make, guacamole every day, compotes, falafel mixes, and these are all based on chef recipes. There's no additives, so we try and, because we're selling to chefs, we sell a chef's recipe. So that's kind of the sector that I work in within the business. I'm also heavily involved with quality. So obviously, with the QC team that we've got here, we don't employ that many chefs. So my knowledge of produce over 20 odd years of working in kitchens comes in very handy for the company. I mean, one guy's just come in with some new tender stem broccoli for me to look at. So I'll be cooking some of that up today. That's from one of our local producers, tender stem, organic tender stem. So we also have the night picking service as well. So our teams start at about 7 o'clock at night, through to about 1 o'clock in the morning, loading the vans and the wagons that then dispatch to Scotland and down south. So it's quite a big operation with many different avenues to go down.
No, that sounds amazing. And what is it that you really enjoy about working in the food production? Because obviously, you've had a classically trained background, you've worked in the industry, I think you said, for 22 years. So what is it now about food production that you really enjoy?
I think it's seasonality plays a big part. Training staff. I mean, I took a young lad on at 16, 5 years ago, who come fresh out of school, never seen a spatula before. So it was teaching him cooking skills alongside making the fresh produce as well. So I enjoyed that, but still being involved with the chefs as well. I mean, I know Chris up at Queensbury, he's one of our customers. And it's working closely with these high-end chefs that still keeps me my finger on the pulse with new trends and whatnot. So I'm able to, continue my, I suppose, cookery journey within my MPD kitchen here at Wellux.
No, that's brilliant. So yeah, so you've come kind of from been in the industry to working and now supplying the industry, but because of that background knowledge that you've got, it makes it, you know, not easier, but it makes it you be able to work with those chefs much more closely and have that better understanding of the products as well. That's great. So what kind of, you know, job opportunities and roles would there be available within Wellocks?
I mean, there's many a job opportunity. I mean, we've got drivers, we've got packers, we've got pickers, we've got the prep room operatives. I mean, the roles for chefs would probably more go down the line of the QC route, or working in my kitchen. So for chefs, that'd be the best thing for them to go into within Wellocks.
And is QC quality control, is that
Quality
what you're
control,
talking about?
Yeah.
So making sure every product that goes out is a product that if you had your own restaurant or business, you would sell into that business
but
as well.
It's also accepting the goods in, you know, all our French suppliers. I mean, we source products from all over the world, Japan, France, Spain, you name it, we get it from there. So we have a QC team who really do spend the time checking the product before we even accept it into the warehouse.
Brilliant.
And that's something else I'm heavily involved in, is training those guys, because they're not necessarily chefs or even cooks. So yeah,
getting them to understand that as well. That's brilliant. So what advice would you do you have for anybody who is maybe thinking about coming in as a chef and then thinking, actually, I want to get into food production? What advice would you give?
Very, very similar to what our other three guests had said. You know, it's discipline. I would certainly advise going into a restaurant first and gaining your experience with produce. You know, you've got to learn how to cook it, understand what it's capable of. You know, the difference between, you know, a good apple and a bad apple, you know. So I would certainly say spend some time in the restaurant trade, not necessarily 20-30 years, but, you know, gain a bit of confidence and knowledge with products, and then you could possibly look into transferring those skills into somewhere like Wellocks.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you very much, Martin. That's been great. So I'd like to say thank you very much to all four of our chefs today and for taking the time out. We are going to open up for questions in just a moment. But if anybody is interested in working in the hospitality sector, Springboard is here to help to support you. So we do have Career Scope, which is our one-stop shop for information, advice, guidance and support on getting it into the hospitality, leisure and tourism industry. So we have a teachers hub, we have a school leavers hub that you can access, and brand new for this year, we also have our new portals where you can access resources, information on events that might be happening in our programs. So you can create your own profile. So a teacher can create their own profile, as can a student. Thank you, Amanda. Amanda's put a link in the chat just there for you as well. So that becomes your portal, which is linked to your area as well. So you can look at colleges that are maybe in your area and events that are happening in your area as well. And we are going to constantly be redeveloping that with new resources on there, new events, new programs. So please do look into that, because it is a real great hub to be able to help to support you. But also, you know, if you do want any information on any of the businesses that we have spoken about today, or any support, please do get in contact with myself or Caitlin, and we'll be more than happy to help you and pop you in touch with those chefs. Do we have any questions from anybody? Can't see that anybody's typing in the chat just for the moment. Chefs, is there anything else that you might want to just add in before we go?
No, just one thing. I'm sure you know, most of the participants, if they don't have any question right now, they still can email us, or they can you know, follow us on Instagram or LinkedIn, and we are more than happy to, you know, support them in any way we can.
Yeah, that's great, and absolutely. And I know Lalit is, you know, real support, as is Chris, Leo and Martin, who've been involved in many of our programmes as well, and also have been judges within competitions. So Lalit's been one of our future chef judges. Wellocks, they supply the ingredients for our competition. We've got Leo at Aramark, and his chefs have been involved with Future Chef as well, with that mentoring. And Chris, I think you've been involved, is it the Southwest Chef of the Year? Is it, Chris, is it Southwest Chef of the Year competition that you're involved with as well?
Yeah, Southwest Chef of the Year.
Fantastic. So we've got, you know, a real great set of businesses and chefs here who are really happy to help to support with helping you to understand more about their sector, but also within the industry as well. So if you do want any more information or any support, please don't hesitate to contact us. I don't think there have been any questions today, but as Lily quite rightly said, if you do have any, please do contact us afterwards and we'd be more than happy to help. But I wish you all a really great day. Thank you so much to our chefs as well for taking time out of your busy schedule. And I look forward to hearing from and seeing you all soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Absolute pleasure. Cheers, guys.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.